I would like to okay. Good morning. I would like to start the show. Today we have a lot of special guests, so I will introduce. There is with us Dr. Talbierska, Dedomo Plebańska.
Czy nie, odwrotnie raczej, tak?
Professor Kielanowski is the author of the show, and I will give him the microphone soon. There are also invited speakers, Professors Chrzanowski, Professor Białynicki, Professor Krasiński, Professor Marek Demiański, and also there will be also Paweł Nurowski, and also professor, and his daughter Kasia Nurowska. I will give now the microphone, pass the microphone to Professor Kielanowski. The microphone is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. I have my own mic.
Okay.
It seems. There was a question whether we should speak English or whether we should speak Polish. Our Polish is more precise than our English. Okay, I'll take out my. Well, I know that I can add some sentences in Polish. Okay, let me see. So that's the title of my presentation is My Encounters with Jerzy Plebanski. There is, well, I need to give some, proszę? I need to give some explanation why I talk here and really as the first speaker, because I never worked with, I never collaborated with Jerzy Plebański, but I want to convince you that I really knew Jerzy very well. So this is the list, okay? This is the list how I knew about Jerzy. And so it starts with high school, and then my acquaintance, or how to say, should I? Okay, is divided into certain periods. So it starts with high school, and then it goes until 2005 when Jerzy died. Okay, so let me start with high school. Okay, high school. These were late 50s. For young people, of course, those times are totally something, the distant past. But Jerzy Plebański and three other people, Barzański, Mielnik, and Ryteń, they wrote a series of articles in Problemy and in Radar monthly, and they were extremely inspiring. Of course, the main author was Jerzy Plebański. Mielnik was describing how they were working. They were working in cafes, smoking, long discussions, and then they went to rest without Plebański to the department of Joanna Ryteń, who lived nearby, because Mielnik lived really far away. He lived in Brwinów. So these articles were really very, if someone finds this book, it's worth looking at it. That's to young people. Okay, so that's how I knew. Of course, I didn't remember the names, but I know now who they were, and I know very well. So that was the first period. The second period was 62 until 67. In 1962, I entered Department of Physics. And in the Department of Physics, I had a friend, Marian Kupczyński, who is now in Canada. And he said, look, I go to the Methodist school, English school, with Bogdan Mielnik. And so it was somehow how I reconnected. But during that period, 62 to 67, this is the time when I was studying, Plebanski was in Mexico. So as I say here, Plebanski was a legend man. He was the youngest docent, youngest professor, and there were talks. Oh, he is producing huge volumes, one after another. And anyway, he was the legend man. And we knew that he was. Mielnik returned from Mexico earlier because he was also in Mexico. He got PhD there, and he gave us a class of mathematical methods in physics. It was a wonderful class, I can tell you. Mielnik was, you will see, he was a wonderful speaker because there will be a movie, and his understanding was very, very deep of quantum mechanics and mathematics. He really devised or discovered some wonderful formulas, which, well, anyway, he was very bright. Talking about Mielnik, I will mention him again. There were three people who were very close to Jerzy Plebanski. The first one was Bogdan Mielnik. The second is Maciej Przanowski, who is here. And the third was Jerzy Kowalczyński. There is Professor Trautmann, Professor Białynicki, Professor Zofia Białynicka, who knew Jerzy when he was very young. He must have been 25 or something like that, yes, when you first met him. So I cannot compare in the knowledge and the description, but Professor Białynicki will say us about that, and perhaps Zosia also. I'm sorry. Okay. So that was that period that Jerzy Plebanski was a legend, but he was non-existing. I first saw Jerzy Plebanski in 1967. In 1967, I graduated. I became Magister or Masters of Science, but in elementary particle physics. And in September, it happened that I had to, because I was hired by the Institute of Theoretical Physics, and I had to have some classes. Because I was a new hire, I didn't have anything assigned, because usually the classes are distributed in April of each year for the next academic year. So I didn't have any classes assigned. And so I was in the secretariat of Institute of Theoretical Physics, where Mrs. Halina Neyman was, and there came young, slim men with Oriental looking and very, very talkative. And it was clear that they knew with Halina Neyman very well. I was listening, they were joking and so on, and it turned out it was Jerzy Plebanski. Jerzy Plebanski was in a similar situation as I was, because he didn't have any classes assigned, and only the classes that nobody wanted were available. And the class that really very few people wanted was physics for mathematicians. So I was assigned recitation classes, and Jerzy Plebanski was teaching. And in such a way, every week he was telling, I did that, please do that in recitation classes and so on. So my regular meetings with Jerzy Plebanski started. The classes, though for mathematicians, were very inspiring. And it is difficult to teach mathematicians, I mean physics to mathematicians, because they hate it. That's a different story. I don't want to delve into that. But so Jerzy Plebanski, why is that car? He came with that car. This is one of the most beautiful cars ever built. So he had such a beautiful car, and so this was his. Okay, so that's how it is. And next year, of course, he could choose the course, and he chose electrodynamics. That I know for sure. Probably also classical mechanics. The classes that Jerzy was giving were extremely, well, I don't want to say difficult, non-typical, original. He never followed any book. He really impressed me. What he told once, he said, when I come to the class, I'm thinking what I will tell them. I was really amazed, because for each class, for classical mechanics, anything, I mean recitation class, I had to work hard to prepare and so on. And he just freely said, I don't know what I will teach this day. And his classes were very, I mean, he was an excellent teacher. Of course, classical physics for mathematicians, the students didn't care much. But electrodynamics for physics students was something very special, because at that time he published this little monograph in Nordita on nonlinear electrodynamics. He was not teaching nonlinear electrodynamics, but many elements from this monograph were included in his class. The students were really scared, but he was not very severe during exam. I mean, he didn't want to that the students flank. So he was a good professor. Another story from this time is you know, egzamin poprawkowy. In other words, the students who failed the first in June, they have to repeat their exam. And so he came to the written exam, and he was very interested always. And then he said, when he entered, of course, we were present, we gave the problems to the students, and then in theoretical whisper, szeptem teatralnym, he said, no to zaczynamy tradycyjne jesienne dożynki. For those who don't know Polish, well, it's difficult to translate. I mean, double meaning. So that was how it is. Another thing, I think I was also, I had the recitation class at the classical mechanics for physics students. He prepared. He was teaching, of course, Hamiltonian mechanics, and he prepared for those students a manuscript, because and handwritten manuscript, which was called and then later published by the University in Toruń preprint, Nawiasy Poissona I komutatory. It was in Polish. And when Moshe Flato came to Poland and he saw it, he could read in Polish, he translated it. And this was really the starting point of a geometrical quantization. Am I right? Okay. One off. So this was the level how Jerzy was teaching. He was really incredible in that respect. Because of that, there were always many young students around him who were inspired. He could inspire, as in the case of Mielnik, Ryteń, and Barzański, and so on. So that was personality of Jerzy Plebanski. Okay, and then in 1973 he went to Mexico, and then I thought, okay, he is in Mexico. He practically never returned for longer periods, for a semester, but that was all. But it happened that I started collaboration with professor from Mexico, with Professor Augusto Garcia, and I started visiting, and from 1980 to 1984, I was in Mexico. Of course, 1980, as you know, I left in June 1980 to Mexico by coincidence. So really, I missed all Solidarity times, but I was in Mexico. Because of that, we talked almost daily. I had a shortwave radio, so I had more news. We discussed it. So that was the situation. In 1981, Bogdan Mielnik and Jerzy Kowalczyński, 2 weeks before martial law, came to Poland. So that was the next period. So we were joined. We were a group of 3 Poles in the same department of physics. So that's how it was, how we made. And then in 1982, I returned to Poland, and so our relations, well, we did not, I visited afterwards Mexico until 95 several times, but from 1995 until 2005, well, until really today, I'm professor in Centro de Investigación in Mexico. But during that period, we had frequent contact. So we knew very well, and we discussed many things. In 1986, Jerzy had a stroke. It really affected him very much. He was an excellent speaker before. Afterwards, he was not such a good speaker. But of course, he continued to work almost until the end. Okay, so that's how I am here. And one more thing. Well, no, that will be next. Next will be a short movie were really recorded after Jerzy died. This short movie is by Bogdan Mielnik, and he will describe how really Jerzy worked. So could you start it? As you see, it is called Praca mnicha.
Będzie tylko wyłącznie to, manuskrypty, materiały, co zostało, prawda?